All right. Tonight we're going to talk about our final programmer pet peeve episodes, episode 3 of the series on system.debug.
No air guitar that time, Brian?
I say no air guitar this week because this time it's serious. We're going to have some serious conversations tonight.
It's only because your boss is in front of you, isn't it?
It might be. So I do want to introduce Mike Brown. Mike Brown is the VP of Product Management here at MapAnything. He's going to be sitting in with us today to talk about programmer pet peeves.
It's VP of Product. We just talked about this.
Fine, VP of
Regardless,
Product. But
I'm
the point
happy to
is,
be
the
here.
twist on the event tonight, the twist on the show is not peeves of programmers, but programmer
other people being
Peeves
pet
about
peeves.
programmers.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, but first, we do want to announce a couple of job opportunities available to our viewers.
A good number.
A good number.
Great
So
number.
nCino is the leader in cloud banking, and they are primarily built off the Salesforce platform. So fantastic opportunity for any of you Salesforce developers and any of you Salesforce developers or any developers out there. It's totally outstanding. But for some of you developers who are not really Salesforce ready yet, they are still interested in possibly connecting with you to see what your experience is.
Building you up.
Some of the positions that they do have are solution architect, senior product integration advisor, developer, and implementation consultant. So we did leave a link below, so you can go ahead and check out on their career page. I also do want to note that we here at MapAnything in the development department in Atlanta are also looking for developers. So please go to the MapAnything Careers page, which is also linked below, and submit us your resume if you're looking for a position. We would love to work with you. That'd be fantastic.
We might enjoy it.
That's right.
Just a little bit.
This week, starting Wednesday, as many of you may have already registered for, and hopefully I will get to see you there, is Trailhead X. That starts on Wednesday. I'll be there tomorrow, so if you see me, say hi.
Don't stay high. Say hi.
Say hi.
Say hi.
And also coming up, remember in August, you've got Forcelandia. You have Midwest Dreamin', as well as
Forcelandia is in Portland.
It is in Portland. And Witness Success, which once again will be the weekend directly following Midwest Dreamin' in Chicago. So if you're already there, try to extend your stay. Make sure that you hit up the second convention. It's really for a good cause.
Yeah.
All right. So that out of the way. 2 minutes.
Wow.
That's pretty good, man.
I think it's all right. That leaves us plenty of time, folks.
Outstanding.
It is.
So there's a catch with this one, though. You called me just before we went live here. This isn't just developer pet peeves. These are pet peeves about developers. Is that what I'm hearing?
Product pet peeves, as it would describe to me, of working with developers.
That's right.
Oh, right. I'm going to leave now.
How much?
Specifically working with contract developers.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
All right.
That's consultant, sir.
Whatever you man,
So we are pretty much
any of the words.
We are pretty much going to be here to listen to Mike complain and tell him where he's wrong.
Hey,
right?
I'm all about that.
That's right. That's what developers
I think
do
we're
best.
going to open a dialogue here between me and RJ, and you can mediate.
I can mediate.
There we go. Is that why you're sitting in the middle, Brian? You're just
That's right.
separating. Okay.
This time instead of on the end.
So, I mean, do you want me to dive in?
Yeah.
I absolutely do. What would you say one of your top programmer pet peeves is?
First of all, I hate when they call themselves programmers. I prefer developer.
What's the difference?
Me too. But yeah, hey, that's a good. Let's make that distinction first. So, programmer versus developer. What? Why the distinction?
Yeah, why the distinction?
Why the distinction?
I actually think developer. It sounds more all-encompassing. It means you got a bigger role in developing the product. You're not just programming instructions that somebody hands to you.
I get that.
Okay, that's a valid point. I can absolutely.
But you're still just programming.
But you are programming. Yeah.
But you are programming. Yes.
It's like a.
You're developing a program.
Yeah, it's like an inflated thing. It's like, oh, let me pump you up a little bit so you feel like you have more of a role in this company.
When I give you instructions on what to program.
Do they get paid any differently?
Unfortunately, it's a competitive market out there. No. For jobs, I guess.
All right. Okay. So yeah, then your number one programmer / developer.
Yeah. What is it?
Well, in no particular order.
Okay, that works. No particular order.
Here's one thing I see as a product manager often. Of course, everybody's got timelines, deadlines, whatever. There's never enough time to do what you want to do, right?
Never.
And I know that a lot of good developers are trying to keep up with the latest technologies, exploring different tools, whatever it is, different libraries, different languages even. But as a product manager and also basically a project manager, right, trying to manage to these timelines, sometimes hearing that somebody has spent a day, a week, right, 2 weeks trying to learn some new library or implementing some new tool in order to accomplish something that we know we could do today. That's a frustrating circumstance.
But what makes that frustrating? You know what I'm saying? Obviously, from the project manager standpoint, I totally get the fact that you are in a timeline, right?
Yeah,
you are a complete waste of time.
Right.
But from a developer standpoint, they are now learning a new tool. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you've used a screwdriver your entire life, right? You know that screwdriver is going to work, okay? But your buddy next door bought a drill.
Yeah.
You know, it took him a little while to figure it out, but it turns out
drills are pretty easy, dude.
Have you met my? Okay.
Yeah.
I like your analogy, Brian. Keep it going. Don't let RJ.
No, it's true, and I can see it both ways, right? I want people to stay on top of the latest technologies. Obviously, I love the initiative that people show when they do that.
Do you?
I do, RJ.
Sure.
At the same time, I think it's tough for me to judge. Was this a valuable use of R&D resources, right? Or should we have just built that login page the way that we know we can build it time and time again?
The problem is that once you go down that rabbit hole, right, you've sunk that time no matter what. So now all of a sudden, if it doesn't become a useful tool to you, that's one for the burner, kind of, you know, that's one that you throw in the fire. But you know that now. You know what I'm saying? But not only that, should something else come up, you can say, oh, I went in and I learned NoSQL, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say, as an example, I went in and I learned NoSQL. Yeah, we don't really need that right now. Okay, cool. But all of a sudden, something comes up and you're like, hey, do we know how to like store transactional data? Like, what would be the best? Because we really need to hit this thing like 450 million times a second. You're like, huh, I read that somewhere. Oh, yeah, NoSQL, DynamoDB. Let's throw that up on Amazon. Now I remember how to use that, and it's like riding a bicycle. It's like
right. I hear that.
Like, not to play devil's advocate, though, right? So to Mike's point, though, at what point does that learning? No, but at what point does that learning become of personal nature? Because you are educating yourself. You're not educating your team. You're educating yourself on a new software. Right?
I was coming at this from an R&D perspective.
No,
like,
and I get that.
You need to get a thing done. I'm trying to figure something out to get it done.
Totally, and I can respect that from the R&D standpoint.
Right. If it's we don't know how we're going to do this thing.
Yeah,
that's one issue. But if it's I've always done just straight login. I'm going to try to learn Facebook login or whatever it is, and it takes you twice as long to do.
And we don't need it.
And to your point, RJ, we might need it down the road, but we don't need it right now.
Right.
And my argument is, at which point does it become the programmer's job of personal investment in his career to go home and study that in his off time versus choosing that during the work hours are the time to learn the new skill?
There are two different ways that you go about it. The one, so this is exactly how I do it, and I'm not saying this is the right way, but this is the way that I do it personally. If I have something that does not pertain to anything that I'm doing here at all whatsoever, I will learn that in my spare time. That's me time.
Fair enough.
You know, but if I'm doing something, say Mike says, hey man, we need to do X, Y, Z. And then me and Abe look at the thing and go, huh, how do we do this? And we think about it for a second. We say, well, we can do it the traditional way that we know that works, but then you have other concerns like, oh, well, yeah, it works. Okay, cool. Throw it up. Boom. Why are we spending $45,000 a month on this server is what comes back from that sometimes. Or why is this so slow? No, that's not you. I'm just saying. I'm saying this is what comes down the funnel, right? Yeah. So why are we spending so much money? Why is it not fast enough? Why can't it handle concurrency that we need? Why is it not scalable? Things like that. Yeah. So then at that point, that's when it kind of clicks in my head. I say, well, wait, hold up. What do you think about this, Abe? And the first thing that you should do before you even start researching is get the pros and cons right away. You say, oh, well, so Redshift, so Postgres.
But your argument, and not to cut you off, but your argument a lot of times is the fact that they're not checking out the pros and cons, or at least they're not addressing them with you.
Good developers.
Yeah, so actually, I think this leads into my pet peeve number 2.
All right. All right.
Pet peeve number 2, which is a very generalized one. Communication.
Yeah, I knew that was it.
I heard you saying it too.
Yeah.
And-
yeah, I know. I'm like communication.
And,
You can
and
see
look,
it right here.
these are different roles, right? So product is different than developer. Obviously, you guys are much more focused in time spent at the keyboard, writing something, figuring out problems, right? Solving those problems.
Not always.
Shut up. He's our boss.
More so than product. Product, my day is meeting,
Hashtag not my boss.
phone call, meeting.
Right.
Right. I'm never working solitary for the most part while I'm in the office. And I think, to me, I get this impression, maybe there's just a natural inclination of the personalities that go into development versus people who go into product or other areas of the business, where they don't get their energy from that communication, or they want to solve problems by themselves. And oftentimes, the R&D example you were talking about, it would be great if that was all communicated right for the whole team. We all knew we're going to look into Redshift for these reasons. And there may be pros and cons. I just want you to talk to me more. RJ, just talk to me.
All
That
I
makes
gotta do-
sense.
I'm one message away if you want to.
No, but I see what he's saying here. And being a consultant who kind of bridges the gap between the client and the people that I have to work with, I totally see that. And I've had to become more of a communicator. So I think what I'm hearing here, it sounds like we're doing therapy. This is awesome.
That's why I felt like I
this
needed
is
to
helpful.
sit back.
Let me throw this out there. I know what everyone in this office, all the developers, whether they're on my team or not, I know what they're doing.
Right.
I know what they're
But-
working on, and I'm invested in knowing that because A, I'm a curious person. B, I'm a social person, so I like to talk to them at lunch. Hey, what are you doing? Like, I know all about MapAnything Guide, right? I don't need to.
Right.
None of that is
Right.
ever going to touch me, but I know about it.
Do you want to remind us where we don't want to?
No. I'm saying from my personal, and I'm not going to say any names of anyone who doesn't communicate with their team, but I'm just saying some other people might not really like communicate or show up to like stand-ups that they really
Did they book for you?
They were really like, oh, we have to have one stand-up per day, and then like sometimes they just don't show up to that.
All right. So communication.
So,
Sometimes
but yes,
you can't get a tea time that early in the day, so you have to play mid-morning.
So this is your chance. What's pet peeve number 3, Mike?
Well, I was going to, do we have time to move
We
on
got
from
lots
that?
of time. Go for it.
I was going to put that back to Ryan, because Ryan, you're a consultant. I assume you do a lot of remote work.
yeah, I do remote work, and then I sometimes visit clients and things like that. But where I was going with that whole thing is when I come across a situation where, hey, a different tool may suffice or may help us out in the long run, I like to go ahead and say, here, I'll go to the person who's making the choices or the PM or whatever and say, look, here's the situation. A new tool has been released for us to be able to do X, Y, and Z. It's going to take, a couple of days to get up to speed on how to do it. But once it's done, we can give you these efficiencies. And then moving forward, we can be that much faster. Do you want to invest that time now? Or do you want to move forward with what we know works to get it done and then invest that time later? But what I ask in return is at the end of such projects, you allow that like 2 to 3 week settle period where you can go back and anywhere you made those exceptions or those notes where, hey, we need to improve this here and here and here, that you give the team the opportunity to go and do that then. You know what I mean? So you can still meet your deadline, but make sure that there's enough rest between that close and before picking up the next task where they can go in and say, okay, now I can take 2 days and learn this tool and replace all of that other stuff. And now moving forward, we're that much faster for it. But yes, to your point, communication is absolutely essential in that. And you're right. The stereotypical developer doesn't like to talk to people. We like to sit in our dark
We don't
rooms.
stereotype here, but
Yeah, I don't think
I
it's-
definitely hate talking to people.
I know, Brian, you love talking to people.
I'm the absolute anti-developer.
Yeah. So am I. I've somehow become a people person. I don't know how that's possible, particularly when driving in traffic in Madison, but still, yeah, I've somehow
Gosh, you are
become
not. I'm sorry if I got to
Driving
stop
in
this right here.
traffic
You
in
cannot
Madison.
say driving in traffic
No,
in Madison when you've
not-
got 3 people who are in Atlanta right now.
not that the traffic is heavy, but we have a bunch of idiots that are in
Yeah,
traffic.
all down the belt line. That's all those college
Yeah.
students. But that's another conversation for another
Yes,
day.
that's a different pet peeve altogether. So we can move on.
moving on. Pet peeve number
3.
Oh, we're only on 3.
He's like, I'll be here all day.
47 and a half.
Yeah.
47 and a half.
Pet peeve number 3. This is what I call razzle dazzle.
Oh no.
Uh-oh. He's got a name for
I'll
it.
get an internet meme coming out
The
of a
pet
sudden.
peeve is
Razzle-dazzle.
when a developer will try to razzle dazzle their way out of a conversation or out of doing something. Brian likes this.
What does that even mean?
You never heard the term razzle dazzle?
I've
You
heard
know, it's where you say
razzle-dazzle,
a
but
whole
it's
bunch
like-
of
think
really
it's,
high-tech words really fast in like 45 seconds so that everybody will just stop asking you
Yeah.
questions because you just sound smarter than them.
Yeah, we have to change the
I
IP
feel
in the
like- I feel like
DMZ
that-
ASAP.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that just produces more questions, doesn't it?
No.
Because like you guys just
Yeah,
said
it
razzle
depends-
dazzle to try
depends
to
on the-
razzle dazzle me, and now I'm questioning this whole razzle dazzle.
So now
See,
you've
I
been
turned
dazzled
that.
and
I
razzled.
turned that on RJ.
I haven't been razzle dazzled. Now I'm just throwing questions back. Like,
Ryan, do you do
How
this?
does that
Ryan, do you ever find yourself? And I mean, and from a development perspective, it's not exactly like something we can turn off. Okay, it's very much like
It's not always intentional. I'll give you that.
yeah, because it's
Yeah.
very much like
I
doctors
don't do
too.
good
You know what I
words,
mean?
so-
Medical staff, like when you
You know?
learn a terminology,
You know
that's the
what?
terminology you're going to use.
But that's a great example of doctor, right? He's moving. He's trying to get you out of the
It's
office.
a razzle dazzle.
Razzle dazzle. Here's a pill. Get out of
Yeah.
here. Does that happen
So-
to you guys?
No, I never go to the doctor. I don't like.
I
that.
will say,
I'm just kidding. I love.
I will say there has been times in which I've been part of a conversation where somebody without the technical experience or whatever is trying to push to go to a certain direction, and you already know like miles ahead, like, no, we've visited this before, we've been here, this is bad. Where I won't say I would razzle dazzle, but I definitely weigh in on the technical hurdles of it all, and just be like, I'm not going to go into the details, but yeah, this is really complicated.
Mhm.
And
Counterpoint,
here's why.
what about technology that has matured a great deal? Because technology matures very rapidly. These, especially, not to just throw AWS out here, but we work a lot with AWS, and some of their stuff matures
Mhm.
at a ridiculous pace. Like last week, or a couple weeks ago, I should say, step functions were not really very mature, but now, boom, boom, boom. Oh wow, look at that! They're great. They're wonderful. Brian Hubbard's using them right now. And
Right.
they're solid now. So what he wouldn't have used a month ago, he's now using on a daily
When it is
basis.
actually brand new.
But let me
Yeah.
ask
It's
you
still
this about the
very, very
razzle
new,
dazzle.
yeah.
All right, about the razzle dazzle response in a stand-up meeting or whatever have you. Would you rather have the
Whatever have
razzle
you.
dazzle, or would you rather have the
the whatever have you.
I'm still working on it. You know what I mean?
Somehow I'm still
Uh,
worse at words than you.
I mean, I think, look, ideally, right, I would be able to understand everything, right? That would be great. You explained to me exactly where the problem was. I understood. I said to myself, that's probably going to take him an hour to fix. Ideally. Obviously, I can't do all that. I don't have the
Skill set.
time, the wherewithal, the inclination, the skill set, right, to do that all. And so I guess, the next ideal world is that you just have a little patience and explain the things, right? And when I say I don't understand, maybe I really don't need to understand, and maybe there's not a nice way to say that, but you can say that to me.
But then what are we communicating?
Well, look, you don't need to understand why we need to, I don't know, change databases right now.
Mhm.
But trust me, it's going to be much faster, more performant. I can talk to you, or I can send you to an article, something like that. The other
But then you're
situation.
like, I don't like when you waste your time researching and developing.
No, he's just trying
Oh,
to get.
ouch, man!
He's
I
just
told
trying
you
to
we were
catch
going to
it.
let him off
This
his
is
leash
one
a
of-
little.
Is this one of those gotcha interviews?
This must be.
So we do have time for like one more pet peeve. Is there one more pet peeve?
We got
Oh,
more
one-
time.
One more pet
yeah,
peeve.
we've got
We've got 10 more minutes.
Well, those were the three I prepared. What if I switch it up on you guys?
All right,
Switch it up.
switch it up.
Yeah, now you guys, MapAnything startup moving very, very quickly. Until recently, I would say in the company history, right? We were very light on all these tangential functions at the company, product
Extremely
management, right?
Bud Light.
Documentation managers, project managers, right? So
Yeah.
in adding all of those functions, adding more people in order to scale the organizations, what are some of your peeves?
Well, and I know I've said this before, but delegation. I feel like there was one aspect of a startup where everybody got to be involved, voice their opinion, and it was valid and it was relevant, right?
Mhm.
But I definitely feel there gets to a point where, especially at the point where we're at now, where we're not just employing brand new developers. You know what I'm saying? We are employing advanced developers. We're employing experienced developers, and they all come in, and that's just developers. It's all across the board for every role and every position in the company, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking at a position where a startup company went from everybody doesn't really know much, but they're a family, to now we're a corporation. We need to start, experiencing that corporation. We need employees that can work in a corporation. And so that whole everybody should have an input doesn't make as much sense anymore.
So we from family mindset to corporate mindset.
Exactly. We need delegation. A lot of times, I mean, I will give my opinion. You know what I'm saying? More than likely, it's not going to be one anybody wants to hear, because it's going to be in favor of what I want.
Never what I want to hear.
Right. But I'm just saying, like,
listen?
I'm going to make the decisions that are best for me.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the point at which, delegation comes in, and you go, I hired you to be a developer. This is what I'm giving you. Develop it. Right. And a lot of the times, like, that's one of those like hangups where when you're transitioning from a startup to a corporate, you got to start taking in more of
it's almost a different skill set, right? From I've got this big function that I'm going to have a hand in actually designing, creating. I'm going to do it end to end, versus now where you have more limited roles, right? I need to talk to the designer.
Oh, absolutely.
I need to talk to the business stakeholder.
And I was just going to lead into that exact same thing. At one point, RJ would have designed the list view to be designed to the list view. This is what it's going to end up looking like, right? Yeah. But now we have a whole team of UX UI guys.
No, we had Derek before.
Fair enough, but now it's like we've got a whole team of Derek's who I get something on my task list, and it's like, hey, this is actually a whole thing. All you have to do is wire it up. Now, granted, wiring it up is not exactly always the easiest thing, but it is really beneficial to have something that where you're already looking at it. I'm not a developer who's trying to decide.
Pluses and minuses, yeah.
Right. But at the same point, my opinion isn't one that necessarily should weigh in the UX side of it, right? Because I'm not experienced in that. We have a whole team of people that are experienced in it. Why would you utilize my opinion, right? I'm going to be looking at it from a development standpoint, which may be good.
At the same time, though, you're a human. So you have the ability to become a user of this product. And
Understood.
You have the ability to have user input.
But as a developer, I'm going to want to try to remove as many features as I possibly can.
Why?
Less work.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, in any hierarchy, the most successful members of any hierarchy are going to be the ones that are looking at the big picture still, right?
Right.
I mean, you want an employee who's whatever, just I don't know, sweeping the floors, to be thinking about, wait, what's going to be the best customer experience? How can I change things, right? What's his role and his role? So you do want some input into what's going on and some awareness of it.
But that's why you have your leads. You know what I'm saying? These are the people, the leads, the senior developers, things are like, these are the people with the experience that have worked inside the company. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They didn't just come in last week and feel like their input is valid. They understand how the whole flow of the company works. You know what I'm saying?
No, but still, who's driving? That's the main thing that bugs the crap out of me about what you're talking about is someone is driving the car, and they say, we're going to Disney. Cool. I'm on board with that. I'm doing things to get us to Disney. I'm putting gas in the car. I got my map out. I'm plotting a route to Disney from wherever the heck we are, right? But then halfway to Disney, somebody says, no. We're not going to Disney, man. We're going to Carowinds in North Carolina. I'm like, well, we didn't map this out the right way then. Why didn't you tell this to me earlier? Why didn't we think about this earlier? Why didn't we change the route earlier? Like, what happened? So that's the part that kind of gets to me.
But I see that coming
from... you feel like in general people are changing directions.
It's not that.
And what does it show? Is it shows as like changing features?
Well,
this is supposed to do this.
What I'm saying is we had when we were small, there was very little communication lag between us. John would just call, hey, get over here. Tell me to make this thing work. Boom. Yeah. Done. Okay, I'm going to make it work.
Now it filters down.
But yes, sometimes it filters down. And then when it does filter down, there are people who think, so-and-so doesn't need to know this. But it helps give direction to developers, to programmers, to coders, to whatever word you want to use for us, to people who are engineering the product.
But there is a point at which too much input creates a backlog of issues. You know what I'm saying? Like too many input. Like there's a time and a place for input, right?
Yeah, but I'm not saying everyone has input. I'm just saying when we're supposed to change direction, or when somebody decides, when a decision maker decides to change direction, everyone who is putting in time towards direction X should be alerted.
It's
that
a
they're
much
transitioning
bigger
to-
ship.
No,
that
I
you
know.
got to turn. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my point. Yeah. So now it funnels down, and sometimes it may happen that a person in the middle acts not only as a filter but a blocker for. They don't need to know that. They don't need to know that. And Klopp.
Who was saying this? Somebody was saying this, siloing off. Somebody was.
No, that's a good summary of
Yeah.
that pet peeve. Silos
Yeah.
of information. Yeah.
Yeah, silos of
information
information.
silos.
People
Yeah.
either withholding knowledge, like, hey, I just discovered this new Salesforce technique, which could actually, because I know it might actually increase my chances of being promoted. So I'm not going to share it with the rest of my team.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just one
Right.
example
We're
of
a
silos.
partner with
real
Uber
cruddy.
to create flying cars, but RJ doesn't need to know about that.
Right. But to your point,
and then,
silos
then
work
next
in
week
both
you're like,
directions.
hey, how's the flying car app coming? And I'm like, what are you talking about flying
The
cars?
what?
You were talking about fleets the other day, not flying
That's
car apps.
proprietary still.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Flying cars and Uber.
the flying car
We'll
app.
have to bleep all of that out.
That's right.
Yeah,
But that's what I'm saying. That's
No, right. But I'm saying the siloing can happen from two directions, right?
of course.
And that's
Yeah.
what you're trying to say is like we need to avoid siloing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if somebody's involved in a project, they need
Which
as
is
many
exactly why
details
I
as
don't
they can
mind
have.
stand-ups,
So
but I think
would you
once a
say that
week
if
stand-ups.
somebody books a stand up,
Oh no, the stand-up.
then they
debate.
should attend?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I think maybe the person creating the stand-up should attend.
Okay.
Possibly.
I'll talk to my team about
You'll
that.
talk to your team. I'll get with my team about this. I'll see what they can pencil me in for this week.
My team, my personal team,
Yeah.
my
Yeah,
wife,
You have an
my
assistant?
mother.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, I don't get to work with teams a whole lot. So yeah, this whole stand up thing, I was like, I have one client where I get to do a stand up, and then I have another client where it's like a weekly phone call, right? And that's the extent of my stand up for a long time. So I'd really like to see how these work in action, because I think everything that we're taught in the consulting world is those are absolutely essential. And before I left the company there's a long story there, but before I left the company that I'm with now, when we were doing more lean work, yeah, there's a long story, but we were becoming more of a lean, little a agile shop, and we started doing more stand-ups, and those were so valuable, and the level of communication was a lot higher, which is great. So yeah, absolutely show up. And we started to do the whole, like, hey, if you're late for the stand-up, the next one you bring donuts or whatever, you know what I mean? So yeah, but
Well.
again,
I think that's ridiculous.
great idea.
I don't. Sometimes it's not that person's
Donuts,
fault.
Mike?
again,
Donuts.
at the time, the company was
Traffic
only
in Charlotte.
like 30 strong. So, and MapAnything, I'm sure, is much larger than that. It's kind of hard to do that, but you still have the smaller teams and
Yeah,
stand-ups.
it's a lot of donuts.
We're slightly larger than that, but I wouldn't say by much.
There's an
Most of the-
overarching
most things are
theme is
broken
what,
down into teams. Absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah,
But no,
there's-
nonetheless.
Yeah, there's an overarching theme I'm hearing here, and that's communication. So developers need to talk more to the PMs. The PMs need to maybe communicate a little bit more of the vision to some folks, because that's one of the first things we always talk about when we're with the clients is we may not need to know every little part of your business, but if you can give us an overall business driver that's driving a certain feature, et cetera, it helps everybody understand
good
the
point.
direction of the situation a lot more. So I am for over communicating. If it's noise, I'll filter it. And that's what your lead developers are for: filter out the noise and communicate the other pieces down below. But
I like how it
that's
took me
me.
to the last 2 minutes of the episode to realize Ryan doesn't have any guitars in the background.
No, he's in a different area right now.
Yeah, it's the same area, but we moved.
Oh.
My desk used to be
Sideways
there,
turned.
so the guitars are over there now.
Yeah.
Yeah, had to move around.
I think it ruined
So now you
everything.
can
I
pull a
feel like
guitar
it's
down,
okay.
Keep
right?
things interesting.
Yeah, now I'd have to walk across the room to go get one, but yeah, I can pull a guitar down.
All right. All right. Well, I do want to remind everybody who's watching tonight that may be new to our channel to like and subscribe to the video. I don't know which one is which, but you can make sure that happens if you feel so inclined. We will be back 2 weeks from now. We haven't chosen a topic yet. So if you have something that you want to hear about, please let us know on system.debug. You can follow us on Twitter at system.debug. You can check us out on YouTube. You can follow RJ here at the infamous RJ. I know I had it last time, but not this time. Brian at Life with Brian. Are you on Twitter?
No,
All right.
Snapchat only.
You can email him at no.
That's for Mike for
His direct
$5.
phone number.
That's right.
Yeah.
His social security is So you can also follow me at usbrian28 on Twitter, and you can email us system.debug@gmail.com.
That's true.
Remember to click on the links for both nCino as well as MapAnything for job opportunities. If you're looking out there, that'd be fantastic.
I
We
hear
have.
nCino's pretty nice.
I hear it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool shop. Never worked there, but I know.
I know people who have worked there. Yeah. Good things to say. I'll tell you.
Cool.
But yeah, so nonetheless, so if you've got any questions, reach out to us, let us know. And make sure to tune in 2 weeks from now. We will tweet out another link, by the way, to the nCino
job board,
just so anybody who's looking on Twitter can find it as well.
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody for watching. You all have a great evening.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Bye. There's the air guitar.